Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to use ThingSpeak IoT with the Raspberry Pi Pico W to build a simple weather station, as you could see here. For those guys who know or do not know, ThingSpeak is an incredibly popular, free, and really easy to use IoT platform that allows us to integrate sensor data very seamlessly in a matter of ways. Today we'll be using it to build a simple dashboard, but there are various other things you could do with ThingSpeak that we'll probably go over in future videos. So we'll be connecting today with a BME 280 pressure, temperature, and humidity sensor on our Raspberry Pi Pico W, which is also very easy to do. So I'll be walking you through the steps of account setup on ThingSpeak, the code you need in MicroPython, and finally we'll be putting it all together to produce a dashboard like this. So I'm really excited to show this video. I thought this was super cool, especially for beginners who want to build simple IoT dashboards. And enough being said, let's get started. But before we get into the content for today's video, I just want to remind you to subscribe if you have not, because there's probably a good percentage of you guys who are watching this right now that are not subscribed to this YouTube channel. Your subscriptions really help me out a lot, and in turn, I can help you guys out by making more engaging content for the community. So what are you waiting for? Just go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let's get back into it. Okay, so first things first, we just want to go to thingspeak.com and create an account. It is free, which is awesome. So let's go here and just create one. I'm just gonna put in my email address, and I will just put in my location and put in my first name and last name. It looks like I have one already for this. So let me try my other email actually. That's interesting. I did not know I had one for that email. Okay, so let's do this. Okay, so we're just gonna click continue there. To use your organization, okay, use this email for MathWorks account, that's fine. So we can click continue and then continue. So verify your MathWorks account. So it looks like we need to verify my email. So I'll go into my email real quick and verify that. Okay, so it looks like we got the welcome email. So I'll just go ahead and click this. So let's go ahead and do that, verify email. Okay, your profile is verified. I think we can just go back and click continue here. And then it says finish your profile. So I'll just put the old password as we have here. That's fine. And I'll just click continue. Okay. And we'll just go ahead and save that. That is okay. So it looks like we have a ThingSpeak account. Very easy. And you could just put whatever you're using it for here. We're just gonna say personal, non-commercial. And so awesome. So you see that was really easy for us to set up an account. Next is we want to add the components for the dashboard we want to create. Okay, so in order to do that, we just want to go to the top left here and click new channel. And we'll just call it IoT Dashboard Part 1. And we'll say this is a weather station. And then we're going to add 3 fields. So field 1, field 2, field 3. And the first one will just be temperature. And then we could just do pressure and HPA. And finally, we have humidity. And of course, if you are using another sensor, really, you can use any number of fields you like. You have up to 8, which should be enough for a lot of applications. And so we're just going to do that. And we have some metadata tags here I did not play around with. Link to GitHub even, all those sorts of things, elevation, I haven't played around with that. And so we're just gonna go ahead and click Save Channel. So you can see really simple. And what we want to do first is, because we don't want everything to be a graph, we actually want some gauges and some other types of widgets, we can just go ahead and exit out of here. So let me show you what we'll do first of all. So first of all, let's create a numeric display for the temperature, because I think that just makes more sense. And that'll just be for field 1, and we'll call it temperature. Okay, and the units are Celsius. So you can see it's filling it in because I already did that before. And we'll have decimal place, and we'll have up to 2 decimals. So a lot of customizability here. Field value unavailable, so we haven't sent anything yet, I believe, so that's probably why it's complaining. Next widget we want to add is the humidity gauge, which makes sense from 0 to 100 because humidity maximizes at 100 on the sensor we're using today. So let's call it humidity. And that is field 3, I believe. We can change it later if we mess up. Display the value, and the units are just percentage in this case. In tick interval, we can just do 1. Of course, many settings you could play around with. And you could even play around with the range where it's red. So we could say 90 to 100 is red, really humid, maybe not good for certain types of plants or other weather station parameters you're monitoring. So maybe you can just add a certain range you'd like depending on what you think is bad for humidity. So that's also cool, they let you do that. So the next one we want to do is we just want to add a graph for field 2, which in this case is pressure. And then what's cool here is you can add a lot of customizability with the graph as well with these parameters. So we could just call it pressure, HPA versus time. You can see I already did that before. And then the y-axis, the x-axis, so we just call this time. And a bunch of other things. We're not going to play around with these, but you could see for your own use cases, you can really customize this as you need. So we can go ahead and click save here. So it looks like we have all of our components as we did at the beginning of this video. Really simple to do, as you just saw. And the next thing what to do is we just want to take this API key. So keep this safe. This gives people access to your account. Of course, I'll create a new one after this video. Really, this is all we need on the MicroPython side of things to actually send data through their REST API to their endpoint and to be able to visualize it in our MicroPython code being sent the data to our dashboard, as you could see here. So we're going to use that API key, and we're going to jump into MicroPython environment now on the Raspberry Pi Pico W in Thani. So as a prerequisite, I would just assume you already have that set up, and we'll just walk through some simple code that'll show you how to send data over this REST API. Okay, so we're in Thani now. We're connected to our Raspberry Pi Pico W, as you can see on the bottom right there. And we are also connected to our BME280 through the physical connection. Now, we're not going to get into too much detail of how to connect to the BME280. I do have a video of this particular sensor, how to use it with the Raspberry Pi Pico W on this channel. I'll link that right here if you are interested and you are following along with this sensor. So you can go ahead and watch that. It's a 2-minute video, very quick, and shows exactly what you need. So in this code, what we have here is we have machine to actually connect to our BME280. So we're just using that library to make the I2C connection, which is of course needed for all sensors with this MicroPython. And then we have network here just to make an internet connection. So we do need an internet connection to send to the REST API. We are using UR requests. So I don't think you have, I think this comes in the latest versions of MicroPython. If not, you could just go ahead and install it. So we are using UR requests as well. And we are using time to manage time between our while loops because we're only taking measurements every 15 seconds. So you can go ahead and play around with that if you like, depending on your needs. BME280 library if you are using the device. And we have this constants file. A lot of beginners get confused with this for some reason on my channel. Really, all that's in this file is my internet name and password. You do not have to use a file called constants. I just do it for YouTube videos because I don't want to show my raw internet name and password here. So you can just put a string here for your internet name and password. Next, we just connect to the internet, pretty standard there. And if you did put everything correctly for the name and password, it should connect just fine. Then we pass the API key. So we just copied that API key from earlier, paste it here. Base URL, you do not have to change this. This is just per their documentation to populate the dashboard. We use this base URL. And then we have this read sensor function. So this is for the BME280. We just pulled the temperature, pressure, and humidity values from the sensor. So the 3 values provided from the sensor, we convert them to a float. And one thing I also did with this library is I modified this last segment here. So if you are using the BME280, you would have to go to the BME280.py file in the library and modify it to remove the suffixes. So you'll see that there's a C there for temperature, for Celsius, HPA, and there's a %. We just want to remove that and retain the raw values rather than the suffixes because we don't need those for the dashboard. And so once we have that, we convert it to a float and we just return it, and we call that here in the while loop. So we read the sensor. So if you're connected to the sensor properly, that should work fine. We print it just for a sanity check, and then we pass it to the API with the API key, the base URL, and the fields. Now, of course, you can add more fields or less fields depending on your needs if you're using a different sensor or want to set up a different dashboard. And then we just print the response. Hopefully it's a 200 response if we did everything correctly. And then we just do that every 15 seconds. So that's really all that is going on here. So I can just go ahead and run this. Okay, we see it did print it, and it'll update again in 15 seconds. So we did get a 200 status code, so that's awesome. And we can just go to the dashboard and show you that it is updating. So let's go to the private view there, 23.64. So I did run it earlier just for a sanity check, so it did update about 15 minutes later. And so that makes sense. And what's cool here is they put the time for you. So this is the correct time in your time zone. We see that the humidity is updating properly, so that's cool as well, and the temperature as well. And there's many other things you can play around with this in the dashboard. We just went over really the beginner aspects you can do in ThingSpeak. It's really powerful. And there are other integrations and other things you could do to set up for more advanced use cases with your data. So there you have it, everyone. We are done for today's tutorial. As you saw, it just took a matter of a few simple steps in really simple MicroPython code to create an IoT dashboard weather station with our BME280 with the Raspberry Pi Pico W. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comment section down below. And also, once again, consider leaving a like or a subscription to the channel. Let me know if you have any questions or suggestions for future videos as well. And thank you guys. I will see you in the next tutorial.